I have officially figured out 99% of the Spider-Man Brand New Day plot.
Oh my God.
Tom Holland's recent comments about Brand New Day have set expectations for a Spider-Man story that cuts back to the basics. Instead of cosmic stakes and multiverse chaos, the focus shifts to Peter Parker's everyday struggles in New York.
We were really restricted with what we could do in the last movie because of COVID. We shot the entire film on stages. Now, we're really going to lean into that old school filmmaking and shoot in real locations, which is why we're starting in Glasgow. We're going to use the streets of Glasgow for this massive set piece that we're putting together. So it's going to feel like making Spider-Man 1 again. You know, it's been such a long time since I've done it. It's going to feel like a breath of fresh air. And I think the fans are going to be over the moon with what we're putting together.
This is a deliberate move by Marvel, echoing what made the earliest Spider-Man films so memorable. A young hero trying to protect his city while dealing with personal setbacks. When Kevin Feige describes this next chapter as a proper Spider-Man, dedicated to saving the city as opposed to world-ending events, it signals a return to the roots of the character.
Sup, Penis Parker?
The story isn't about the fate of the universe, it's about one person making a difference in his neighborhood. Looking at where Peter is now, the change is clear. After the events of No Way Home, Peter is left with almost nothing. He's lost his connection to Tony Stark, the Avengers, and even his closest friends. The multiverse adventure wiped his slate clean, both emotionally and in terms of support.
Is there anything else?
Brand New Day uses this as a starting point, stripping away the high-tech gadgets and famous allies, and leaving Peter to figure out who he is without all the extras. The multiverse stories brought in legacy characters, huge battles, and a sense that anything could happen. But there's a different kind of tension in a smaller story. When the threats are local, every decision Peter makes feels more personal. The stakes are measured in lives saved on the street, not worlds colliding. For example, think back to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man stopping the tram full of kids in the original film, a moment that felt urgent and real because it was about saving people right in front of him.
He's just a kid. No older than my son.
Compare that to Peter's reality-bending fight with Doctor Strange in No Way Home. The spectacle was impressive, but the emotional weight is different when the conflict is street-level and immediate. Brand New Day has a chance to use this smaller scale to its advantage. So, how do Banner and Castle fit into this new, smaller world? Let's break down the top 2 possibilities. Could Bruce Banner have played a hidden role in Peter Parker's MCU origin? This idea isn't just wild speculation, it lines up with Alex Perez's scoop that Spider-Man 4 will explore a connection dating back to the earliest days of the MCU. The theory goes back to Banner's pre-Hulk days, when he was working on experiments tied to recreating the super soldier serum. According to this line of thinking, Banner and his team may have been using genetically modified spiders as part of their research.
You know what, whatever. Even if it did hurt, I would let it bite me. Maybe. How much did it hurt?
The spider's dead, Ned.
One of those spiders could have escaped the lab and ended up biting Peter, making Banner indirectly responsible for Spider-Man's creation. There's some evidence to support this. In Spider-Man Homecoming, a portrait of Bruce Banner hangs in Peter's science classroom, right alongside other famous scientists. At first, it seemed like a simple Easter egg, but if Banner's work really led to the creation of the radioactive spider, it becomes a clever piece of foreshadowing. The MCU never actually showed how Peter got his powers, leaving a gap that this theory fills in a way that ties Spider-Man's origin directly to the wider Marvel universe. Instead of a random lab accident, Peter's story would be another chapter in the long history of scientific ambition and unintended consequences that runs through the MCU. The emotional core of this theory is the parallel between Peter and Bruce. Both are brilliant scientists whose lives were changed forever by experiments that didn't go as planned. They each deal with the fallout in different ways. Peter tries to use his powers to help others, while Bruce struggles with the destructive side of his own transformation. This shared burden of responsibility and the consequences of science gone wrong could make for a compelling dynamic if Banner ever steps into Peter's world in a more meaningful way.
He really grows on you, doesn't he?
With rumors swirling about Mr. Negative's role in Brand New Day, there's speculation that he could corrupt Bruce Banner, pushing him into a Grey Hulk persona. This version of Hulk has Bruce's intelligence but lacks his moral compass, making him a more unpredictable threat. If Peter found himself facing a mentor figure twisted by Mr. Negative's influence, the story would gain another layer of tension. It would force Peter to confront the risks of unchecked power and the dangers of losing control, something both he and Banner understand all too well. Bringing Bruce Banner into Peter's origin story doesn't just deepen the connection between Spider-Man and the Avengers, it also grounds the narrative in the consequences of scientific ambition, keeping the stakes personal and street level. It's a theory that fits the tone of Brand New Day, where the focus is on rebuilding and facing the fallout of past mistakes rather than saving the world from cosmic threats. That covers Banner's unexpected role.
What happened to your voice?
What do you mean, what happened to my voice?
I heard you by the bridge. I know what a girl sound like.
I'm not a girl, I'm a boy. I mean, I'm a man.
I don't care.
Marvel Studios has officially confirmed that Jon Bernthal will return as the Punisher in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Punisher's arrival signals a hard shift towards street-level storytelling. Frank Castle thrives in environments where crime is personal and justice is direct. This is the kind of world where Spider-Man's ideals are put to the test. While Peter Parker operates with a strict moral code, no killing, always finding another way, Frank Castle's approach is simple and brutal. He eliminates threats without hesitation. Bringing these two together in the same story guarantees friction, especially when their targets overlap. The theory at the center of this dynamic involves Mr. Negative and his Inner Demons gang. The Inner Demons aren't just another criminal outfit, they're deeply rooted in New York's underworld, running everything from rackets to human trafficking. The Punisher's relentless pursuit of justice puts him on a collision course with the gang, but it's not just about taking down bad guys. As Frank investigates and dismantles their operations, he inevitably crosses paths with Spider-Man, who's trying to protect the same city, but refuses to cross certain lines. This setup leads to one of the film's most compelling conflicts. Mr. Negative, known publicly as Martin Lee, presents himself as a generous community leader. Peter might see Lee as a force for good, someone actually working to help the city. But if Frank uncovers the truth that Lee is the mastermind behind the Inner Demons, he'll confront Peter with evidence that shatters those first impressions. Suddenly, Peter faces a dilemma. Trust Frank, who represents everything Peter tries not to become, or give Lee the benefit of the doubt and risk letting a major villain slip through the cracks. This isn't just a disagreement about tactics. It's a test of Peter's core beliefs about justice, redemption, and the limits of hope. The partnership, if it happens, won't be easy. Frank's methods could pull Peter into situations that challenge his sense of right and wrong. The gang wars sparked by the Inner Demons are exactly the kind of street-level threats Spider-Man is meant to stop, but Frank's brand of justice leaves a trail Peter can't ignore. If the two are forced to work together, Peter would have to manage the fallout from Frank's violence, constantly trying to steer him toward a better way. This isn't a simple team-up, it's a constant negotiation between hope and vengeance, with Peter struggling to keep his own ideals intact. Rumors about Kingpin's involvement suggest even more complications. Both Peter and Frank have reasons to go after Fisk, but their paths will be tangled with distrust and conflicting motives. Add in the possibility of a corrupted Bruce Banner, and Peter's world becomes even more unpredictable. Each ally comes with their own baggage and their own way of handling problems, making Peter's journey less about beating a single villain and more about surviving the moral crossfire. With both a corrupted mentor and a ruthless vigilante in Peter's path, Brand New Day could test every ounce of his code.